This week we are going to focus on parts of poetry, elements of poetry. We have talked about repetition, how poems can repeat themselves. We have also, at the beginning of this, we talked about how poems can even be read at a beat. So when you're reading it, it can almost feel like you're going like this or clapping your hands to the beat as you read it. This week we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit more and then also talk about different rhymes. So let's start with this IXL. We're going to do a few together, and there are different types of rhyming patterns in poems. Sometimes a poem can have different lines. Let's look over here. Let me delete these quick. And get my drawing tool out here. Hopefully it works. A lot of times poems can follow an A, B, B pattern, which means that the first stanza, the second stanza, that means that they rhyme. And the third and the fourth lines, sorry, I was saying stanzas, the first and the second lines of the stanza, they rhyme. And then the third and the fourth lines of the stanza, they rhyme. That would be an AABB pattern. And then there can also be another one, A, B, A, B, where the first line rhymes with the third line, and the second line rhymes with the fourth line. So there are many different ways that you can, there are many different patterns that can happen in poetry. In this question asks to choose the poem that uses an end rhyme, which means that you have rhyming words at the end of the line. So the first poem says, "They knew by his awful and kingly look, by the order hastily spoken, that he dreamed of days when the nations shook and the nations' hosts were broken." So this would be an A, B, A, B poem, because I wish I had a writing tool on here, because the word look and the word shook, those rhyme. That's the first and the third line. And spoken and broken, they rhyme. And that is the second and fourth. But we still don't know if it's the right answer, so let's read the next one. "But here a wild hyacinth stalk is snapped. The purple buds, half ripe, show deep purple where your heel pressed." Now, when I read that, it almost felt a little awkward. There wasn't really a beat. There weren't any rhyming words. That is called a free verse poem. A free verse poem doesn't really follow any rules, and you can just kind of put it all out there, and you can choose the rhythm and if you want rhyming words. So the best answer would be the first one, because it has a rhyming word at the end of the lines. Now this is focusing on what we were talking about earlier, the beat of a poem. Choose the poem that has a regular rhythm or a pattern of sound like a beat. So when you read it, it almost feels like it's set to, you guys know one of those things that sometimes are on pianos and it like goes tick, tick. It's like a hand and it just goes back and forth, tick, tick. It's kind of following one of those. So let's read the first one. "I saw you toss the kites on high and blow the birds about the sky. And all around I heard you pass like ladies' skirts across the grass." So there we have some rhyming words, high and sky, pass, grass. That would be an AABB pattern. The second one, "You know what it is to be born alone. Baby tortoise, the first day to heave your feet little by little from the shell." Okay, so hopefully you guys notice that the one that had the beat or the rhythm was the first one. The second one, it didn't really follow any patterns. It was kind of random, and it just didn't follow that beat like I was looking for. So the first one would be the best answer. And lastly, this last one we're going to do together, choose the poem that uses repetition. And so we talked about this last week. There are poems that repeat words or phrases, and usually those words or phrases are important to the poem. So the first one is, the sun's heat will give out in 10 million years more, and he worried about it. It will sure give out then if it doesn't before, and he worried about it. Okay, so we do see that there are two phrases repeated. Let's make sure that the other one doesn't have any either, or doesn't have any. I'm not a chicken, I have seen full many a chill September, and though I was a youngster then, that gale I well remember. Now, there are some rhymes, but there isn't anything repeated in that last poem. So the first one would be the best answer. So hopefully you guys are understanding the different vocabulary that will be practiced this lesson. Remember, you're identifying elements of poetry, so make sure you read through all the poems and take your time, and I know that it will go well.